Welcome to VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. Today, we're jumping back into the cyber conversation to learn about an organization helping our community make the transition into cyber. Something that we get asked about all the time, something a lot of people are interested in. So it'll be exciting to jump back into this and learn about a new organization. Today, I'm flying solo. It'll be for the next couple of weeks. I'll be flying solo. Well, Keith is out on sabbatical. He had to take care of some things. So we wish him the best of luck with what he's doing and look forward to his return. Today, we're sitting down with Wilson Bautista Jr., who is the CEO of June Cyber, a veteran-owned cybersecurity and compliance firm based in St. Petersburg, Florida, helping organizations prepare for and achieve compliance. Before founding June Cyber, Wilson served as a U.S. Marine Corps officer, leading large-scale communication and cybersecurity operations in Afghanistan. That experience shaped his mission-driven leadership style and practical approach to risk management, focusing on people, process, and protection over paperwork. Wilson is also the executive director of the Cyber Ohana Project, a nonprofit that helps veterans and career changers transition into cybersecurity careers, and the organizer, let's try that again, of B-Side St. Pete, one of Florida's fastest growing community-driven cybersecurity conferences. Fantastic. I can't wait to jump into this, Wilson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Oh, man, outstanding. Just another day on Earth, getting ready to learn about another fascinating resource. So
Awesome.
can't complain at all. So I know you came on our Operation Startup, our entrepreneur show, and talked a little bit about your organization. And now we're going to jump into the nonprofit side and learn about that piece. But before we do that, let's talk about your transition. How'd your transition out of the Marine Corps go?
I would say it was unexpected, right? I had started out as enlisted, and then I went to the officer side. And when I got in, it was 2001, and when I was an officer, it was around 2009-10 timeframe. And right as I got back from deployment around late 2012, they said, "Hey, it's nice that you played, but we're downsizing here, and we're only taking like 5% of your class." And based off of what we got so far, it's like you're not part of the 5%. And at 13 years of service, I'd found myself in a position to where I needed to figure out what life was going to look like outside of the military, right? So that was a little rough because you transition to go officer because you want to have a better life for your family, and then you set yourself up for success after 20 years. Have a pension, and all of that suddenly was leaving within 12 months. And so I had to really prepare for end of service, right, within 12 months. And that was hard, especially because I was coming back from war, right, in combat, and I didn't know what was going on in my head. So you have all of this friction going on between like post-deployment, like trying to transition back into the family, and then getting out of the service, trying to figure out what it is that you're going to do with your life. So you have all of these complex layers going on top of each other that created a lot of friction. So I would say that it was challenging, and it was a humbling experience to learn a lot about myself, and then to go through some of the challenges with my family. But here we are. We're all together. We're stronger than ever. And there's a lot of little stories in between, but I'm sure that we'll talk about that along the way.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was Army, and I remember like the huge lieutenant captain drawdown, so to speak, that sort of happened right there in the middle of my career, where either a lot of them were getting out on their own or they were being told, hey, we need to downsize. And it just seemed very weird to me how it was very specific to that class or those classes in that range. And, but I can only imagine, you had plans, like you had your probably, let's say 20-year plan, so to speak, at least maybe 10 more years of it. And knew what you were doing, kind of figured where you were going, how it was going to end. And all of a sudden the rug swept out from under you. And that's got to be hard. Did you, you don't have to get into details if you don't want to, but did you have struggles, whether it be alcohol, depression, things like that? Because I know that creeps in even if you're not, all of a sudden your life changes,
Yeah, but that was kind of a major part of one of the challenges is, I didn't know that I had PTSD. I didn't know, all right? I didn't know why I couldn't sleep at night. I didn't know why like I would just go internal and be in the shell and feel like the world is evolving around me and I am standing by myself. Like I think the term is like you're like a snow globe. You're in the
I hadn't
snow
heard that.
globe. Yeah. So like the world is like you could see the world and you're just like kind of looking around and it's just like everything's moving around you, but you're kind of staying the same. I did not know that I had that until one day my wife looked at me and she's like, "Where are you?" And that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh my God, something's really wrong here." And I mean, it took a little bit to get to that spot. It was probably a year after my deployment. And when she looked at me and she's like with tears in her eyes and she's like, "Where are you?" I said, "Okay, I need help." Right? Because like we're the Marines, right? We're supposed to be alphas and especially you're the officer of alphas. You're supposed to be the guy, right? And to admit that there's something wrong. I mean, I'm not sure how it is today, but back then it was just like you're a weak sauce,
Yeah.
right?
I haven't
And
heard that term in a while.
you're weak sauce, right? Just like you're weak, and you don't want to look in the mirror and say I'm weak. But
Yeah.
when I saw myself in that moment, and when I saw my partner looking at me, pleading with me, like asking me, I said, "All right, there's something wrong. I have to just suck it up. There's something wrong here. You know, if if I go to the gym and I could lift weights and get stronger, there's something weak about me here that I need to strengthen." And that was the journey to recovery. Um, and it's been, I mean, I would say like I'm not fully recovered, but I would say that I've gone through a lot of stages of grief,
Oh yeah.
a lot of stages of healing that has come in different forms. But yeah, the transition, like that was one aspect of it. Depression, PTSD, questioning reality, um, you know, uh, just just trying to figure out everything out all at once was hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to get through it. Um,
Well, I'd never heard of it described as a snow globe. That is a fantastic metaphor for this. 'Cause true. It's like everything's happening around you, and you're just sitting there watching and not a part of it at all. And um, that, and that's just fantastic to describe it that way. Um, and I would say that I don't know that we're ever fully healed, right?
yeah.
I think more than anything, we learn to deal with some of the triggers, and we find ways to um, properly cope and process things as opposed to diving into the bottle or drugs or whatever else and trying just to numb the pain. The and I'm still amazed by certain triggers.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw the movie The Outpost
No, I
with
have not seen that movie yet.
it takes place. I think it's in Afghanistan. But it has Clint Eastwood's son in it, and fantastic movie. But like I watched it like the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, and I had Memorial Day plans. I was going to go participate in some things here locally. It shut me down for like 4 days. Just my wife is just like, well, "Where are you?" It's just
Yeah.
like, and I was an intel guy, so it's not like I was out there in heavy combat and stuff like that. But just just that whole thing, it impacted me, and it wasn't something I expected, and so it's something you kind of learn. Okay, I enjoy watching the movies, so it's not like I want to stay away from war movies, but I probably need to look at timing before I jump into something that heavy. Maybe I don't know, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, it's really interesting. Like certain sounds, certain triggers,
hmm
like it just like automatically you're brought back. It's like, oh crap, I was on that. I remember that time that I was on the Humvee or the
yeah,
MRAP, and like I'll have a quick one, a quick story is like when sometimes it's like I get triggered when I feel like I don't have control or in a situation, right? And it's like, okay, like I remember that I'm like all the times that I was in an MRAP and I was loaded up and I just was expecting for something to blow up, right? And it's like, hey, yeah, we're going on an 8-hour convoy and we're going to stop by all of these bases and we have to do all of these things. And it's like, all right, when's my time, right?
Yeah.
And then you layer all the times that you did that, and then you hear like a loud bang, and you're somewhere, and you're in a car, and you're just like, what the hell? And it brings you back, and you're just like, oh my god, all right, I'm not there, and you have
Yeah.
to like go through the process of, I'm not there anymore. I don't have to worry about that. I'm safe. But it's the cognitive load to get you to think of all of that that
Yeah.
gets tiring. I remember telling people, I'm like, how do you deal with it? And I'm like, it's hard. You gotta like, you actually have to think about like, I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm not there. It's like, I'm okay. I'm with my family. I've got a good structure, but like civilians don't have to worry about that, right? It's like, it's because
Yeah.
they don't know. So anyways, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I remember, I always refer to it as kind of like temporary PTSD. Like that first month or two after you first return, every loud noise makes you jump a mile, and it's like to this day, unexpected loud noises still, raise the hair on the back of my neck. It's like, oh, what was that?
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and but I'm so happy that you start seeking out the help you needed, and especially for your family. And I'm curious, does the family piece of this lead into the name of the nonprofit? Being Ohana.
Well, Ohana means family, right? So let me start with the reason why I started this whole nonprofit,
Okay.
right? And it goes back to like when I got out of the service, I had nothing, right?
Right.
I had no support system anymore, and that's something that I wanted. When you get out of the service, you don't have that. You don't have the unit that you go to. You don't have your staff sergeant that you look up to as your platoon sergeant. You don't have the captain taking care. You're like on your own, right?
Yep.
And when I got out of the service, that was definitely one of the things that I felt. And then, you go back to like your job and your career. I didn't have a mentor, right? I didn't have anybody to help me out, right? And so I had to learn everything that I know today by myself, um, at the
Right.
beginning, right? Because I just didn't have the community, right? Leading to Ohana, right? Family, Ohana family, and I also was stationed in Hawaii for me, but Ohana means family, and what I wanted to build is a community of mentors, of people that looked after those that are trying to get into this career, because it is difficult to get in and get your foot in the door. And part of being successful is having a good network, right? And that's what I wanted to build. So I started out creating training, like just based off of like, hey, this is where you can go, because a lot of what I see and have seen for like the past like 5 to 10 years is that certs, get all these certs, and you'll get a job. And partly, actually, there's a large part that gets me upset with a lot of organizations that take advantage of the GI Bill benefits. They look, it's like, yeah, get all of these certs, and they're going to get all this GI Bill money for the students to go through these classes that they may or may not ever need, or not actually use those skills that they're developing.
Right.
So part of my journey was I ran into walls. I was trying to figure things out. I said, like everybody that goes into cybersecurity, the first thing that they say is like, it's sexy, and I just want to learn how to hack stuff, right? And that's the reason why I joined, right? The whole industry is just like, oh yeah, I want to learn how to hack stuff. Until I figured out that I don't like coding and I don't like scripting. But it took me like a few years to figure that out, right? Um, and so going back to the certs, it's like you have these companies that want all these service members to go through their training. It costs a lot of money. It's like, okay, why don't I create something that allows the individual to see what's available and then focus their skills and their training and their time on that particular skill so they could get the job that they want, right? So it's just like, how do I say this? All right, you have an airplane, you have your flight attendants, you have your people that work on the plane, the mechanics, you have your pilots, right? Like going through like these boot camps and all this training is like, okay, hey, we're going to teach you how to fly the plane. We're going to teach you how to, we're going to teach you how to do all of this stuff, all the technical things to do all of these things, and then you could try to find a job, right? But if I go before that training, right? If I create something that lets them say, okay, hey, this is what a pilot does. Do you like those? Do you like those roles? Do you like those responsibilities? This is what a flight attendant does. This is what a mechanic does. Do you like those roles and responsibilities? Then you figure out, okay, I think I like to be a flight attendant, right? Because that seems less stressful, right?
Yeah.
And then they just focus their time and energy on that, and then they become a flight attendant rather than spend 6 to 12 months learning this whole thing and then realizing that I just wanted to be a flight attendant in the first place. So if I could preempt the training, then they could focus the training to get the job that they need, right? They could, instead of getting 7 certs in skills that they don't need, mostly don't need, and they could just focus on the 2 that they do, then I've
Right.
saved them time, right? Reduce the time, get them in the job faster, get them in the community so they could, say exactly, this is what I want to do. This is what I've done, and this is what value I bring to the organization. So that's how I do it with Cyber Ohana Project. I've created the training based off of the National Institute of Standards Technology NICE framework, and cybersecurity has so many different domains. So like I've only like focused on 3 jobs, right? You have all of these different domains, and they have all of these different roles in them, and each of those roles have their knowledge, skills, and abilities and tasks, KSATs. So what if I just say, hey, these are the domains that are available to you. What do you think? And they say like, oh, I really don't want to deal with paperwork. So I don't want to do policies and procedures. I don't want to do governance, risk, and compliance, but I really do like being in the action. So I want to be in incident response and maybe in security operations. So it's just like, okay, well, those domains have these kind of jobs. What kind of jobs are they? It's like, you see these jobs? What looks interesting to you? Okay, now look at the knowledge, skills, and abilities and tasks for each of those jobs. And now you say, okay, now you're filtering things out. And now you come to like, I want to be a security operations center analyst. So guess where your training should be in that, right? Maybe you don't need to learn about governance, risk, and compliance or policy writing or any of that stuff. You just focus on this because this is what you really want to do. And how does that prepare the service member to transition? They're focused, right? And now they know, hey, I go to this job interview. This is the job that I want. This is what I've been studying for. This is what I've been training for. I go to the job interview and I say, this is what I want to do. These are the things that I know how to do. I know where my gaps are, and this is how I've addressed those gaps to meet the criteria. And now you're in a better position rather than being general and saying, I want to be a security analyst and I just have all of these certs, and there's some of them are applicable and some of them are not. So
That's
that's how I developed it.
well, it's a fantastic approach, right? And I, like when I was transitioning, Veterati used to be a mentor platform before it went under, and I was doing like 5 calls a week, talking to different career fields and things like that, trying to figure out what I did and didn't want to do. And I learned very early in the process that I didn't want to be a project manager. And I was never going to
Mhm.
get a PMP. I mean, like it's like I just
Oh
knew
yeah.
it. And now I don't. I love doing projects. It was the framework piece of it I really didn't like. And I think being a project manager in the right field is very doable for me, right? So, trying to figure that piece out and what you're doing sounds a lot like that, where you're helping people find what they like
Right.
and the amount of time, energy, and benefits that you're saving them from having them go down the roads that they don't need to. Because I'm like a lot of other vets. I probably have certifications and stuff to wallpaper the wall with that I'll never use,
Right.
because, I need to go get certs. And, um, so I think it's fantastic. So how does, if I were to come join the Cyber Ohana Project, what's that look like? Like, how does that process work for me as a new person trying to get into cyber?
Yeah. So you could either shoot me an email, right? And we can share that information later. And um, our website, you just go and say contact us, and then one of our team will get with you. And then what happens is that we sign you up for our training, and we basically it's on your own pace. It's all online, and you just go through the training. You have any questions? We have a Discord group, and what we're and so that's where it currently ends, right? We have a community of people that, like, if you need some support, we have you there. Now back to what you were saying about Veterati. um I think it's important to at least have a platform, and it's unfortunate that we don't have that platform anymore, or something similar that I know of.
Well, we do
um
now.
do we?
So we got Mill Mentor, is one probably the biggest one I think right now. There's an organization that started post Federati, um, same type of concept. So yeah, there's a couple out there now.
So I'm building out a platform specifically for this. So, and are you familiar with vibe coding
Yeah.
at all? All right. So you know how ChatGPT gives you, like, you say, hey, I need to write this email, and I'm really mad, and I need to write it in this professional way to say, like, I'm not very happy with you or whatever. Vibe coding is kind of like, I need an application, and it needs to be able to do one, two, and three. Right. So I said, I need an application, and I need it to support veterans to contact their mentors, and um, and be able to set schedules, and calendar invites, and set up meetings for folks. So this is coming out real soon. Is that it'll be a mentor mentee platform
Okay.
that veterans can and military spouses can get on, and get with an industry expert within that discipline. So that's something that's coming soon in the next
Okay.
quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you launch that, we'll have to get you back on here to talk about it and let people know how they can get involved in that as well. There's a lot of veterans out here that want to be a part of the mentoring process as well as civilians. I mean, I talked to countless civilians on Veterati as well back in the day. So,
Yeah.
um, no, it's definitely a need. So is this a part of the Cyber Ohana project, or is this going to be separate from that?
No, it's part of the Cyber Ohana Project. So there's a lot of resources. One of the things that I realized over the past few years is that, yes, I developed this training that preempts the training that is available. Um, and that's great. And I think it helps people out a lot. And there's so many different resources. Like, what is it? So you have a lot of different programs that will support training. And we didn't want to just get lost in the shuffle of one of those. So we want to be able to say, okay, no, we legitimately have a platform that helps veterans. So we have this application that we're developing. This is what we're going to be doing. This is how we separate ourselves. We're very focused on this. I don't think there's many other organizations that do that. There's another veteran security organization, VETSEC, which do similar things, but we're focusing here regionally, and then we'll expand to nationwide.
Okay. So what's the region then?
Southeast right
Southeast.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Fantastic.
we've helped over the years people from Germany, like stationed in Germany, stationed in Guam and Okinawa, and throughout the US. So we've had at least, I want to say, 250 people go through the program so far.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
And then, so outside of the app, this mentoring platform you're working on, is there any big plans for the near future?
Right now it's what is it? What's the phrase when they cook barbecue low and slow? Right?
Yes.
So I mean, just like any business owner, like I have competing priorities right now. So what I don't want to like expense quality or exchange quality for speed. Right. I want to keep the quality very, very high, and I don't need to grow this. This is not like this is a passion project. It's not a moneymaker, right? I want to be able to give back. So I do, and the way that we grow this is through this platform, and then also sponsoring local cybersecurity events and being part of the local community here. So one of the projects that we do, which you had mentioned in the beginning in the intro, is the not Cyber Ohana. Cyber Ohana Project is a fiscal sponsor of B-Sides St. Pete. And B-Sides are locally run, community driven cybersecurity conferences. So you have them all over the world. And it's basically, hey, we got cybersecurity people around St. Petersburg and the Tampa area. Like, let's get together and talk about cybersecurity. And it's not like one of these big conferences where there's flashing lights and, like millions of people. This is like a small community. Like people are really trying to help each other. So we at Cyber Ohana Project feel very strongly about being enmeshed with the community. And especially because we have a large military presence here with MacDill and
Yeah.
a few of the surrounding bases, we want to make sure that, hey, we are a resource here too. So we're supporting these kind of local events and making sure that they're up and running and in good standing.
You guys going to be out at the MIC this year?
No, no, we're not going to be at the MIC
It's
this year.
coming to your town, man. It's coming to your town. Oh, yep. It'll be in Tampa this year in September. Be a large audience there that, if you guys get the opportunity, you may want to at least come through and shake some hands and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
give you an opportunity to meet some service members that are interested in getting cyber. So what's the best place the audience can connect with you to learn more about Cyber Ohana Project?
So I would say that the best place to learn more is on our website. You can learn more on our website at cyberohanaproject.org. And then please connect with us on Facebook and LinkedIn. And feel free to contact me directly. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm on social media the most. Wilson Bautista Jr. You'll see my handsome face with glasses and a bunch of letters behind my name. So that's going to be me. And I love to help the veteran community out, and anybody that's interested in learning more about cybersecurity and getting their foot in the door.
All right. Fantastic, Wilson. Really appreciate what you're doing for our community. And, cyber is just such a big thing that a lot of our community wants to get into. And so this is just fantastic. I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and spending some time with us. We always appreciate the audience, and we're hoping that, you're pulling some great things away from these conversations. So please share the information with your friends and family, fellow veterans. Make sure everybody's tracking the different organizations that we're talking about here, and make sure you give us a like and follow on VET S.O.S on your favorite podcasts or social media platforms. And as always, remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.